Welcome to the Healers Podcast, where we inspire and guide healers through business expansion. We give voice to incredibly abundant healers to share their stories. We dive into the quantum field to unlock the energies of conscious creation. We also develop digital tools to help you grow, which you can find on healless.com. I'm your host, Yuli, and I'm grateful you chose to join this space. Now let's go deep. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to the very first episode of 2025. So excited to have with me here a very special guest today. Alan Steinfeld is an explorer of consciousness. For over 30 years, he's hosted and produced the weekly television series New Realities in New York City. Additionally, with 90,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel and 22 million viewers who have been seen his programs. And this include interviews with luminaries in the field of health, spirituality, and UFOs, such as Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Ram Dass, and every major UFO researcher in the field. With his media appearances, lectures, and conferences, he informs millions about human potential, remote viewing, and the nature of alien contact. He feels that only when the inner explorations of the soul are combined with the outer adventures of the mind can we achieve a harmonious understanding of our place in the cosmos. And what I recently discovered about Alan, that he also wrote a book back in 1997 called Careers in Alternative Medicine after he finished his acupuncture degree. So he's really a pioneer in this industry. It's such a privilege to have you here and also opening this amazing, incredible year for all of us. So welcome to the podcast.
And I think what you're doing is more important than ever because people are looking for alternatives. And, you know, the old ways, the old mainstream ways are just not working for a lot of people who are not getting answers there. So it's an exciting time we're in.
Thank you. No, absolutely. And, you know, as we're starting this amazing new year, I would love to hear your perspective. Just kind of like start with the big picture. I mean, you've seen so much, you've been in the space for so long. And I think it's a compliment, and the last few years, really things, accelerating to a new level. Can you give us that bird's eye view?
Sure. I mean, how I see it, and it does involve my new book, Making Contact, but also the first book I wrote about alternative medicine. It seems like more people are aware of vibration and energy. You know, we're moving from a Newtonian world, physics world, where things were matter and particles to wave and energy. So this is the quantum field, people talk about the quantum field and the quantum mind, and quantum is sort of like a little overused because people, I don't think, even know what it means, but it does mean that there's a holistic approach to consciousness, that we're part of this bigger picture. We're not separate. If you're looking at Newtonian physics and world, everything is separate and the parts make the whole, but the whole is greater than the parts in a kind of quantum physics way of understanding reality. So I think in general, the bird's eye view of the coming age we're moving into is that we'll understand energy and vibration much more. It'll be more a tool of social exchange. You'll vibrate towards the people you have a frequency match to. I mean, alternative healing's always been about vibration, though, because we want to overcome the mechanistic Western idea of medicine, which is still useful at some point. So what we need, but the pendulum has been so far the other way into just this materialistic, mechanistic worldview that we need the energetic wave-like understanding of what reality is. But that's not it either. It's like the left and right brain. We need to be whole brain beings, but we've been so left brain logical that we need to, and this is what this time is, with lots of experiments in consciousness. I just listened to the woman who's putting out the telepathy tapes. Have you heard about that?
No.
Oh, that is a breakthrough. If you want a bird's eye view of what's coming, what was her name? Diane. I just seen a couple interviews where, but she's so brilliant. She looked at autistic children and realized that some of the severe autistic children who couldn't even speak were actually telepathic. They actually would read the minds of their parents. If their parents were looking at, let's say, there's one example, a parent's looking at an eye chart and the child was asked to read the eye chart. They read the chart through the eyes of their parents, through the mind of their parents, because they sometimes couldn't see it on their own. But there's this huge breakthrough in telepathy, ESP. I teach remote viewing. So this awareness that there's something about our minds that transcend time and space. That is the next frontier. It's all consciousness, right? People are just saying consciousness. It doesn't mean anything until you understand what is the application of consciousness, because people are just using consciousness like a substitute for God, and that's great. It's all consciousness, it's all God, whatever you want to say. But how do you apply it? And you can apply it in remote sensing, remote healing, remote viewing, all sorts of ways of sending the local mind into the non-local field. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the exciting part of what's coming. Go ahead. Yes.
Yes. And my next, since you mentioned application, I would love to also get your perspective how that could be applied by healers directly in their practices.
The idea of remote, well, people are doing remote healings all the time, but if you're a healer, I would recommend taking one of my remote healing courses, because you learn to see inside someone's body. You become a sort of medical medium. I mean, anyone can develop that skill, and it's getting out of the way and letting yourself receive the part where you set your intention on. So the way I teach remote viewing is like there's a target. Let's say I have someone, I'm saying, okay, where's this person? I give you their name. You tell me where they're at. You just set your intentions, like you set your GPS, and then you get your left brain out of the way and you receive. It's receiving. The right brain is the feminine. It's the receiver part. The left brain, which has been overdeveloped, is the sender. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's the aggressive part. And then this other part receives the message. All you have to do is set the GPS, which is your intent. That's how I teach it. And then you sit back and you get your mind, your monkey mind out of the way, and you receive the images. So when I've been working on people, I also do body work. I would come to like a tense part in that person's shoulder or something. And then I just tune in and ask the body. I guess body talks a little bit about that. Okay, what's this about? And then would say something like, okay, your father hit you when you were 10 years old. It would just come to me. And they would say, well, how did you know? I said, well, your body told me that. And like, sometimes I'm a little off, but I just let that come to me. And you get feedback. Oh, no, it wasn't 10, it was this or whatever. It's like, but the universe is talking to us if we can only listen. So I would say if you're healing, you're already a little intuitive. You already want to give somebody something that's transcendence of the mechanistic mode of behaving. And then you let yourself feel into it and you receive messages. It takes a little practice. You're not always right because people get their own stuff in the way, but everyone can do this. Everyone can do remote viewing. Everyone has right brain facilities because it's the right brain. And they learned this from the autistic kids that are much more open because it's not, I would say, confused with all this logical left brain linear way of being. So when that's out of the way, you're actually in the infinite field. And when you can be in that space, when you're working with people, you can get a message. I mean, I would always check it out with the person because sometimes, you just say a lot of things, but you can actually look at someone's body. It's also what I do in class and say, okay, and this person would look pretty normal, nothing, and say, okay, where's this person having pain or where is there an injury or something? And people get it because the key is notice what you notice. That was actually a term that a poet said, but I use that in healing. Notice what you know. What stands out? Oh, the left shoulder seems fine, but why am I looking at this? So you just use your intuitive sense and apply it and, fine tune that. It takes practice. It's like everyone can play the piano, but the good people take practice. So you have to practice and it has to do with this non-local mind that we have access to. Practice how the field is talking to you, the exchange with the infinite, which we are, but we're trapped in the local understanding of the mind, and we can access the non-local. So there's a big revolution in that. The telepathy tapes are going to really change reality. Look for that too. And lots of confirmation. I mean, I'm teaching remote viewing like every month. There's someone who wants to, or class. I just did 7 semesters of teaching of these classes. I might do something on the Shift network. So people are interested in this non-local reality, but you can't explain that with the ways we understand reality. How can you see what's not here? What sense do you use? It's not your 5 senses, but because we're infinite beings, divine beings beyond time and space, we can tap into that field. That's what Joe Dispenza is also teaching. Lots of people are talking about this. But
yes,
okay,
well, you mentioned Joe. I'm going to his retreat in like a couple of weeks. So he is definitely one of my favorites. And this is exactly the message that resonates so much. And I think I love also that you mentioned this idea that everyone can develop this telepathy. And we're seeing definitely on our platform, having like thousands of healers from all over the world. What we're seeing is that energy healing and intuitive reading becoming such a prominent modality that healers are not just using on its own, but you will see like the Reiki practitioners or Chinese medicine practitioners, they add that to their list of modalities because it's becoming one of those like supplementary skills that are so crucial for healers.
Definitely. I have to say about Joe, we had the same teacher, me and Joe. We were at this mystery school, the Ramtha School together. I'd known him for about 20 years before he ever went public. He would teach, you know about the Ramtha School?
Yeah.
That was, So I was there for, I guess, 25 years. He was there. And, I knew him, and now he's a big shot, which is great. And he deserves that because he's really helping a lot of people. But I knew him when. I'm just kidding.
No, I know. I found your interview with him that I think was probably taped on a very old recorder, but
yes, it was. Yeah, because no one knew him when he first came out except I knew him, and I knew he had this amazing gift to really motivate people, to tune into people. I mean, he used to give lectures at the Ramtha School, so we'd open the lecture with hello, geniuses, and so I saw that evolution, and I'm really happy that he is influencing and helping so many people because that he's passionate about it. It's his life, and he's, evolving the teachings all the time. So I'm glad you're going to learn something there.
It's going to be my 4th retreat, and every one of them was different.
Yeah, he keeps learning new stuff. Did you see the movie The Source? Did you see that?
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah, I think, but it's the same idea that I'm talking about, but it's more, I feel like we're going more into the unknown. Maybe Joe's doing that now. I haven't heard his lectures in a while, but it's like we're here to, what Ramtha said and what I go by, maybe Joe, we're here as incarnational beings to make known the unknown. Do you know what that means? What does it mean to you?
Well, Joe talks a lot about the unknown, and it's this, people call it so many different names. Like it could be the field, it's the void. There's so many
we're here to make known the unknown,
Well, connecting in the field and basically losing the sense of the reality and working with the field and the energies. And that's why I think that you mentioned in the beginning, the vibrations are suddenly becoming important and more people are sensitive to that. You know, I'm talking to people that are completely not in the spiritual space and they say, I start feeling vibrations all of a sudden.
Right. Right. No, you're right about the making known that we're here to bring in new information that is in the field. And that's the potential each one of us has. And, you know, it is about, that's the new language. Of course, it started in the 60s. Like the first time I heard that Beach Boys song, Good Vibrations, you know, good. Yes. That's like, that was a paradigm shift for me. That was like, you know, it's an old song. I think it goes, whatever, 68, but it's like, that was like the mainstreaming of this whole idea of vibrations. And now it's, yes, it was a song, it was interesting, but now it's a reality. You know, you vibe with your tribe, you know, those are the things that, so yeah, and I think in relationships, that's really, I've had to learn that the hard way, but you know, the relationship, it's not just a pretty picture. You want to really be on the same wavelength as the other person. And, you know, it doesn't matter how they look or what they say or whatever. It's like, is the vibration there? Because if it's not there, I mean, I don't see how it could work out, but, you know, and the same thing with healers and clients in a sense. When I was doing acupuncture, I really, and this was just my problem, I couldn't work on anyone I really didn't connect with. Like I couldn't treat that. It's like I wasn't interested in treating them. Maybe a good healer, it doesn't matter. They always find a way. But for me, I was a little particular. Maybe that's my problem in general. I don't know. But I think we can raise people up. We can get them to a state where they do kind of drop out of the lower self, the lower self-indulgent sort of ways, egoic ways, because, you know, that will bring people down. And even about remote viewing and all that remote stuff, you have to transcend your ego mind if you're really going to tap into the non-local field. That's part of what we're here to do. So
amazing. Well, I have so many follow-up questions from this.
Ask me everything.
Well, I'm just curious, you know, we mentioned some of the teachers and I mentioned some of your teachings as well. And I think what a lot of practitioners that I see that are trying to navigate this idea, okay, what do I teach when, how do I grow? How do I scale? What do I offer? You seem kind of through your career tried different types of offerings, right? Because, you know, you evolved, I'm sure, as a person, the customers, the clients involved evolved a lot, your students. So how do you navigate this business in having this longevity, right? Also without kind of like losing interest, but also finding what is the format that's right for you today?
Well, first of all, your interests may change over time. Like I studied acupuncture for 4 years and then I worked in that field for a while, but I wasn't really interested in continuing that because people were just coming to me with lifestyle problems. Oh, they want to lose weight, but I said, so change your diet. They didn't want to change their diet. So it's like, well, I can't help you. There's no magic bullet that, so I got a little bored with those types of sessions. Of course, it's great to help people and you can in any type of modality, but so my interests changed. I went more into public speaking and research and writing these different books, which was more interesting. And then, of course, if someone's in pain, I still like to do body work. It's kind of fun for me because that's where I started as a body worker. I was in the film business, but there was this producer who was really overweight, very 400 or 500 pounds. And he was in pain all the time. And he just asked me to, I don't know, rub his shoulder or whatever, just help him out. And I realized that I could go underneath the fat and get towards the muscle, which was very strained because of carrying all that weight. And so I developed this technique of like, I can massage people through winter coats now because I can go through the top layers and get to this underlying tissue that has the tension. So that actually did get me into acupuncture because I wanted to learn more about the body and all that. So, and it was all really great to learn about the meridians and all the different meridians. Most people just know the regular meridians, but there's the ancestral meridians or the psychic meridians. There's the tendomuscular meridian. I mean, the meridian system is so complex and so holistic unto itself that it's really a great field of knowledge. So I forgot what was the rest of your question. I went off on that.
I went off with you, but I think we were talking about your journey from all those different modalities and teach and formats of teaching and how do you find.
All right. Yeah. So I say yes to everything when, especially I was starting to research all this stuff and someone asked me to speak somewhere. I would say yes, no matter what size of the conference, no matter who they were. So, I'd speak to two people, or I'd speak to, I think, as many as 1,500 people. I just said yes. Okay, someone said, can you do this? And then I did adult education. I talked about acupuncture and healing, and these people who really weren't interested in it initially, but, I talked to them because they needed someone to give a talk. So I would just say yes just say yes is my big advice. If you really want to build a following or a platform, just say yes to whatever comes along. And because everything, you don't know where that opportunity is going to lead. And even if you're talking to two people, that was practice for me. Okay, I could try some new material out here on two people that, may work in a bigger crowd, or, it was fun. And, no one wants to talk to like one or two people, but it was really good to do that because all the practices of speaking and even treatments, whatever you're doing, if it's, one person, then okay, you're telling one person a week. So if you're doing a really good job and focus on them and give them the kind of energy they need, they're going to tell somebody. And it's like, so there's nothing too minimal or small, especially if you're just starting out, to go for because it all bears fruit in a good way. Have you heard that? You must have heard that before.
Yes. So that's incredible advice. And then my next question is, how do you go from those two people you're speaking to 90,000 subscribers on YouTube that you have today?
Well, when I got tired of acupuncture, when I was studying acupuncture, it was in Santa Fe, and it was rooming with this guy who had a public access program there in Santa Fe, a public access TV. And I had done video in New York. That's how I met that producer, because I was doing like just very boring production assistance work. But then I was in Santa Fe and I started to do some video interviews with people. So, when I came back to New York after Santa Fe, I wanted to continue interviewing people. So I started public access in New York show. And that was before YouTube. That was in the 90s. And I had this girlfriend said, what are you doing with all those interviews? You don't even have enough airtime to broadcast them. And then she's the one who said to me in 2006, oh, I know what you can do with all those interviews. They're starting this online platform called YouTube that you can upload all those shows. And I said, okay, I guess that's why I was doing them all, because so I had all this material right in the early days of YouTube, and people were trying to get material and do. So I had hundreds of shows that I still have more to convert from VHS and mini DV. And so I have all this material, and I have posted a lot of that from the 90s and even the 80s, maybe on YouTube. So I was one of the early creators on YouTube, even before Google had bought YouTube, and it was just two guys in their garage doing uploads. And so, I don't have as much subscribers as a lot of people, but I have maybe more than some, and it's building. And I'm always looking through my archives for more stuff. Like, I have interviews with Bud Hopkins. You know who he is? He was not early, but he was a big UFO researcher that was responsible for bringing new ideas into that field. So those get a lot of airplay because, he's not around anymore, and have these interviews with him. And so
That's an incredible asset just to be able to have those interviews, like you said, that no one else has. And you're the one who has them on YouTube.
Right. Actually, Gaia, I'm trying to make some deals with Gaia because I'm a historian, sort of. I mean, if you see my apartment, it's full of books. And so it's like the history of like the spiritual movement from, I guess I kind of came into it in the early 1980s. So that's the last, 40 years, every little nuance and new fad and new healing modality and latest greatest teacher or snake oil salesman or whatever. I've tracked it, and it's kind of fun to see the evolution of this industry in a sense, and see what modalities are popular now and what have gone out of favor and what's coming in and where all of that going, because it's its own history. It's like collecting baseball statistics. It's like, oh yeah, who's hitting the most home runs now?
Amazing. I love that. And so any predictions for modalities that you think are really going to see on the rise?
Well, there are these a lot more. Well, I have to say there are more like energy machine type things, which like brainwave things are coming out, or I don't know. I don't like the machine stuff as much as the natural. I mean, in a way, there is nothing new. People would put their hands, if you see all those old Egyptian hieroglyphics with people's hands up, they were sending energy, so I think, though, the potential of the human mind to be non-local and send and receive energies, there are some new, I guess, machines or therapy. I mean, I like the float tank, I know that's not new, but I like floating in the dark and weightlessness where you are becoming pure consciousness. That's one of my favorite things to do. But yeah, I'm going to be at the Conscious Life Expo in LA, and there's always like the latest, greatest thing, people sending vibrations through toothbrushes that resonate with the frequencies of the teeth. That's kind of new. I just interviewed this really great woman, Bianca Ruling, who has these frequencies for every part of your body and every, illness or whatever you can have. There's frequencies that can correct that. That goes back to Rife, of course, and that's not new. The Rife generator frequencies that really do work. I mean, there's resonance in frequencies. Oh yeah, I did meet somebody who's been able to translate the frequencies of nutrients into light and put that light into the body. So there's a lot of new trends with the translations of frequencies in different modalities, like translating light frequencies into sound or nutrient, the frequencies of nutrients or different colors into sound or light. And I mean, that's been around, but I think they're fine tuning it now. But those are easy to work with in a way, and they're very beneficial when your body resonates. Everything's resonant. So your heart, lung, liver, kidney, they all have a different resonant frequency. And this is Guy Matheson from England, would calculate the frequencies of different organs and then broadcast the organs with its perfect kind of healing frequencies, and it would have a physical effect on the body. That's also been around for a while, but now I think people are doing that more through computer generated sound. So sound and light frequencies are as popular as ever, and they're all good. There's some red light devices that are better than others because it has extra frequencies added to it. I think you can find the one that I like at the Grand Canyon Foundation. This guy, Josh Daniels, has invented these red light beds that, you lay under and you get all these nutritional frequencies as well as the red light frequencies. So I don't know. There's so much,
That's amazing. No, it's a great list. And I got to tell you, the frequency medicine to me, I couldn't agree more. I've experienced those that come through water, which another field that they charge the water with certain frequencies.
Right.
And that I've seen miracles personally with my family. I interviewed one of the practitioners, Andrea Candy, in one of my other episodes, if anyone wants to listen. But it's a whole new frontier. And I'm surprised how much not talked about, because I don't know what the reason is, but.
Well, you can charge your water with your own frequency. This is what we used to do at the Ramtha School. You hold the glass up to your forehead and which is what Emoto demonstrated, you put what you want to manifest into the water and you drink the water. And it has to have a resonant effect, So frequencies are huge, and as this whole vibrational revolution comes more and more popular and known, we will be working more with frequencies anyway. And I think don't deny the power of your own frequencies to, like Emoto showed, to change crystalline shapes. And so that's something. One more thing I really think is great is hydrogen water. Do you know about the holy hydrogen? There's hydrogen. I interviewed this guy. He called himself Mr. Hydrogen, but he cured his body with hydrogen. And there's something called holy hydrogen water. It's a device where it puts 6 parts per million pieces of hydrogen into water. So you're taking in more hydrogen. Hydrogen is the first element. It's the first thing from source. They don't know where hydrogen comes from. Of course, it comes from atoms and all that, but where's all that come from? So from hydrogen, the universe, our matter universe, the field, everything around you was created. So taking hydrogen into your body is connecting you back to the original source. And the other thing hydrogen does, water is H2O. So the extra hydrogen combines with the free radical oxygen to flush out, free radicals out of your body. So I recommend the Holy Hydrogen Machine. You could use my code. I think it's ALAN code for a discount if you want to. They're expensive because they're made in Japan, and they are modeled after the water at Lourdes. That was a big healing miracle water at Lourdes, France, where the apparitions of Mary appeared and all that. And I do think there's something to that. There's a magic that happens at those apparition sites. So the water at Lourdes was analyzed, and they realized it had this extra hydrogen in it. So the Japanese created this device that modeled itself after the water at Lourdes, and people are having great healing from the holy hydrogen water. And I've been using it. And you can also breathe it in. You could breathe the hydrogen in, but drinking the water, I think, actually goes deeper. So there's a water revolution. There's that woman, what's her name? Veda Austin from New Zealand. She's a big water. Have you heard of her, Veda Austin? She's a great speaker about the power of water. And, water is the universal solvent. So water is big these days. People charging water, and charge it yourself, holding your hand. Love your water as you put it in your body. And of course, you want good quality water. You don't want awful polluted water or chemicals in it. You want the best water you can to charge it. And, you filter your water. I mean, if you're in New York, you definitely need a filter for your water, or most cities. But if you have water from an underground well, then you're giving yourself extra minerals and vitality. It's not just the water, H2O, it's the vitality, it's the structure of water. So water's a big thing, but that's also been around for many years, the whole water energy thing, but that's still big. And I think water, vibration, all that, light, sound, they never go out of style. So they're big.
And they're all connected to the quantum, right? Looping back.
Well, yes, I guess they are. But, those are grounding things. Light, sound, water. body embodiment. Yes. What
Switching
else?
back, no, well, thank you for this incredible overview. And I think you gave so many great ideas to a lot of our listeners. But switching back a little bit to your career and this incredible longevity that you've built. And I know it's been done over many decades, but it seems like you connected with some really, really incredible people on this journey. And I know part of it probably was being so in the early days when it was still a small industry, but you continue to just be, I don't know what the word for it, but I just remember I came to my first New Life Expo in Brooklyn. That was a couple of years ago. And this guy just appeared and, offered his services as my guide. And he was walking around and showing me all these people and saying, oh, this is Alan Steinfeld. Do you know who he is? He has, almost 100,000 YouTube subscribers. He's so-and-so. So anyway, you seem to be somebody that people know and recognize, some sort of like a fixture in the scene. How do you manage this incredible network? How do you, grow it? How do you maintain it?
Well, I'll tell you, there's one simple answer for me anyway. I am constantly curious. So I don't think about maintaining a network. I don't think about, I think about, oh, this person, what is this person saying something new? I'm like a talent scout. What's this person have that I can learn? And you go and you sit at the feet of the master and you learn everything that you can from these pretty amazing researchers. And that's why me and Joe were at the Ramtha School. That was pretty amazing wisdom for its time. And so I'm still seeking out new life and new civilizations, as they say in Star Trek. But no, there's so many. And of course, that was a little bit before the internet, the 90s, 80s, 90s. And it's like, wow, you can just get so caught up in research now. There's so many interesting things going on. So I go to a lot of the expos, see who's new, see who's there. So and I'm always networking people too. I'm always connecting the dots. Oh, you should see this person here. I mean, if people are interested, I'll offer that. Or this person connects to that person. And I don't know. You're just taking it all in. And I like to review what I've learned and use it in my own practice life, lectures. Connect the dots is, I guess, one of my favorite pastimes. So I just do that because it's fun and to make those connections for people. And it kind of brings the world together a little bit more. So how do I do it? I do it because I have fun doing it. That's a good answer.
Amazing. And I guess we can't talk to you without mentioning the UFOs and how you got into that space from, going from acupuncture, writing books and all of that. I'm sure there's a story.
Yeah, it's actually in my book, if you get a chance to read chapter 7. But let's see, how did I was always interested as part of this adventure of the unknown, always interested in space. Like I wanted to be an astronaut growing up. And I was just at the NASA Space Center in Florida, which was a little disappointing because we weren't out in space. But no, I was interested in these way out stuff. I'm an Aquarian, I'm an Aquarian, born under the sign of Aquarius. Sun, do you know about astrology a little bit?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sun, my Aquarian sun is in the 11th house of Aquarius and has this opposition to Uranus, which is also very Aquarian as we move into the Aquarian. So all those Aquarian ideals are something that I'm really excited about. And UFOs, this unknown reality, I think this is the most exciting thing. Yeah, we talked about healing modalities, but the fact that people and the government and insiders are saying we're not alone in the universe, that there's something else to see here, that the world is bigger than we thought. I think that is the most exciting thing to investigate on the planet. And what makes it even more exciting is that nobody has any answers. It's like, this is an unknown field. It's like a whole new territory. I mean, the government does have some answers. They probably do have crash retrieval. They do probably have bodies of aliens, because that's been acknowledged, at least off the record somehow. But they're just looking to make weapons. And I think the whole reason they're not making any progress is because the ETs are not interested in letting government make weapons from this technology, you know? So I think they're really here, whoever they are, because I don't think we know. People say Pleiadians or Syrian. I don't think you can make those general statements like that because we're not educated enough to. There's something here for sure. And they're definitely from somewhere else. I think I'm pretty positive in making that claim. So I just became obsessed because, yes, about my story, I did have an experience of traveling cross country where I think I did have, like, you can call it an abduction or something type of experience where it's like, I was into it before that, but then once I realized that, oh no, this may have happened to me, I was, as they say in the business, sucked down the rabbit hole and became obsessed. You know, when something happens to you that you can't explain, and I still can't explain it, you know, like this missing time and this mark on my body and then this weird dreams. But so when something happens, like even in trauma, when something happens, people do two things at the same time. They pull back, but they become obsessed. You know, there's this, and in a way, there is a bit of a trauma involved in the contact experience because it's so far outside what we call normal and ordinary that there's no place to put this. So that's why I really enjoy talking about it and speaking about it and writing about it, because it's like we're here, like Joe Dispenza says, make new neural pathways of the unknown that people can cognize these new realities and then recognize it as it's put out to the public, right? You can't recognize anything you haven't cognized. So part of this field, the phenomena, is cognizing new realities. There's no place for ETs or whatever these things are in our world unless we carve the neural nets of understanding to make a place for them. And actually, Joe's doing that now in those workshops. He's talking about the beings there and all that. But
well, I've seen them. He's not just talking about them. I've seen them.
You've seen them in Joe's workshops?
Yes. Yes.
What did you see?
Well, he works with, I think there's different types of beings that accompany, especially on those big retreats when you have 2,000 plus people.
What did you see?
Blue beings, white beings.
How did you see them? Did they physically show up to you?
Well, I don't think in that world the term physical is appropriate, but they were as real as a physical person would look like.
Did you see them with your eyes open or closed?
No, eyes closed, and you can sense their energies. And, you know, when you have multiple people reporting on the same vision, that's what creates reality, right?
Right. Well, that's, I think, what this whole UFO phenomenon is about. It's about a planetary shift where all of us will be able to sense these beings. And I'm happy Joe is working in that field, because when I first interviewed Joe, I asked him about ETs. He goes, well, that's not really in my field. And I said, and then I saw him last year at some conference. I said, Joe, remember I asked you, because I gave him a copy of my book. I said, you said you didn't want to talk about this, and now you're talking about it. He goes, well, it wasn't my experience when you asked me those questions, which is honest, you know.
It is, yeah.
So I think it was a big leap for him to actually acknowledge that, because it took the work to a whole other level. I don't even think he mentions that in the source film, does he?
No. I don't think he publicly acknowledges that. This is kind of like the talk
talking about it.
But it's the talk among the students. If you talk to many of his, especially advanced students who've been to many retreats, and I think he mentions it and during the retreat, and I like his explanation, and I think it makes a lot of sense that you have to raise your vibration to a certain level to be able to see and interact with them.
That's what the whole phenomena is trying to do for the planet. You've heard about the drone issues in New Jersey, right?
Right. I was going to ask you, yes.
Well, I think because there's the machines, and then there's these orbs and these plasma things. So what I think, and I don't know, because the government is saying, well, we don't know what they are, which is a big lie, because I think they do. But I think there are these ET craft coming, and in order to kind of confuse people, the Pentagon has put up their drone craft to intersperse with these ET craft, and just to kind of confuse the matter a little bit, because they don't want to completely give over the narrative to these other beings just yet. But they're showing up because now people are aware that there is something out there and that it is a shift in vibration. This is how people do CE5s. Have you heard about the CE5 practice? It's close encounters of the fifth kind, where instead of their making contact with you, you're making contact with them. So you're calling out to them, the good ones, and I think most of them are pretty good, to come to you. So most of the time, people would wait for them to show up, but now we're sending out the signal for them to appear to us. And so there's a lot happening. There's so many moving parts in this particular genre of New Age awakening that that's why it is so exciting. I think they are here, maybe like Joe is doing, to raise our vibration, to raise it up because when you're in the presence of these beings, at least in my experience, and they've just appeared in dream states. And actually, Daryl Anka talks about this too. You know who Daryl Anka is?
Yes.
He channels the being Bashar. I've interviewed him about this. When you're in the presence of these beings, your vibration is shifted. And unless you can remain lucid, conscious, aware, their field is so much more powerful that you just go unconscious. You can't maintain self-awareness in the field of these beings unless you practice lucidity, lucid consciousness, because it's like trying to get Wi-Fi on an AM radio. We don't have the bandwidth, but we have the potential for the bandwidth. It's just that we haven't got those bandwidths in place. So when these beings show up, the idea is to maintain an altered state of consciousness. There's something called the Oz effect among many experiencers. Have you heard about that? Where reality shifts. It's like these beings show up and suddenly, I've had this to me, the air looks still, like everything is just still and quiet, and there's a different essence. Some people get really, really tired at that. Some people feel this vibration through their body. I mean, even Gary Nolan, if you know who he is, talked about this vibration. He's very mainstream scientist, but he's had these experiences. He talked about this vibration through his body. So I think in general, what we're talking about with the healing and the UFOs and all that and what's happening in 2025, it's just my feeling, is that the vibrational field of the planet is definitely shifting. The clutch is down and we are on the gears and we are moving from third to fourth to fifth. And that's what we're feeling. The world post-COVID is stranger than ever. And, so much has changed. I mean, the fires happening now in California, that's really upsetting. It's upsetting to see, upsetting a lot of the world, but everything is changing, and it's not fun sometimes, but it's, and it's awful for that to happen to so many people, but there's no but. And I also think the world is not the same as it was, 5 years ago. And this whole idea of feeling and vibration and frequency in energy medicine, in UFOs and politics and planetary frequencies, it's all about the same thing in different formats.
Well,
So
that is an incredible summary and prediction at the same time. I couldn't choose a better speaker, better guest to kick off our year and put it all in perspective. Alan, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I feel like we could go on, and I would love to have you back anytime. But
anytime, I'd love to talk about remote viewing a little more because once you get that skill, you could use it for anything. And, it's a practice also. You have to really, but we are infinite beings. That's my kind of final comment. We are forever infinite beings. And when we realize that, and funny thing is, the CIA, by wanting to compete with the Russian psychic spying program, develop remote viewing, which of course the masters and mystics have known forever, but now it's become mainstream. The CIA indirectly introduced us to our transcend forever beingness in a sort of indirect way. But so what I'm saying is, yeah, I'll come back and talk about how each of us are actually existing beyond time and space. And remote viewing absolutely proves that to be true.
incredible. Well, I definitely want to take one of your classes and become one of those experts. And again, thank you so much for all your wisdom.